Hello, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to Live at the Waterhole. It is wonderful to be with you again here today. My name is Amy, and I will be with you for the whole show and tomorrow and the next day as well. So it's lovely to know that I have some more time to relax and enjoy and see what pops out for us at the Waterholes. Remember everyone that this is a live and interactive show, so please do chat to me. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from, if you have any questions about what we're looking at, or even something completely different. You can send them through to me on the Wild Earth website or the app. You can also chat to us in the YouTube chat stream. Just remember to use @FC if you want to make sure that we can find them easily. Or you can join the conversation on X using the hashtag WildEarth. We are starting off today here in KwaZulu-Natal in the eastern part of South Africa at Tembe Elephant Park, and we've actually spent quite a bit of time here yesterday with having a lot of fun in the mud. Looks like only 2 here at the moment, but who knows how much busier it's going to get later on. Well, always good to start off with elephants here. Let's head up to Oldonyo, where we have some giraffe, which is also always wonderful to see, and elephant and a secretary bird. We had the secretary bird yesterday. I'm not sure if it's the same one exactly, but likely to be, especially if they are in an area. And it's something that we don't see all the time, so definitely a special sighting to have this pair of secretary birds. Is actually one moving on the other side as well, and just look at that size difference between the elephant and giraffe as well as the little bird, and it's actually quite a large bird in comparison to others. That elephant's like, you don't. It looks like this elephant has an audience, I must say. I think as he moves off, though, those giraffes as well as the secretary birds are just waiting for their opportunity. You see immediately how that bird went back to the water. I love how they bend down and sort of scoop up the water that they need. We were commenting yesterday about how they look like they're wearing leggings. Very trendy. And here arrived the giraffes. I thought that was going to happen. They were sort of congregating in the background, also needing a drink of water. And secretary birds are named that. Some of you may be wondering, why is it called a secretary bird? It's all about those black feathers behind the head. There, we've got a really nice view of them now. Apparently looking like the quills that secretaries back in the day would have put behind their ear. So that is where the name is derived from. But an incredible bird, a serious predator in its own right. Very strong, has those long legs for walking through often grasslands where it finds its prey, and really it can eat anything that it can overpower, whether it's snakes, other smaller birds, even small mammals along the way. When they feed, they can either tear up the prey like birds of prey do. Otherwise, if it's small enough, maybe a small rodent or reptile, it will just swallow it whole. I saw one catch a small snake once, and just down the hatch. It was unbelievable. And very distinctive looking. You can't really confuse it with anything else, I would say. You can see, I think with the wind, it is blinking quite a bit with that nictating membrane there over the eye, every now and again looking a bit cloudy. Sounds like maybe an elephant's arrived at the waterhole again. Lots of splashing, not something we usually hear from the likes of a giraffe. Deb Davis, you say that yesterday was your first sighting of the secretary bird, and they are quite unique. Absolutely. They definitely are unique. Like I say, not much out here that resembles them. There are other cranes, possibly storks as well. At a distance, you may, confuse them or think it could be something else. But as soon as you pick up your binoculars or you get closer to the bird, it becomes very clear what it is. Clearly, these giraffes were being a bit splashy. Maybe when they were entering the water. Don't usually hear too much water splashing when it comes to the giraffes. Oh, there are some birds up there. Looks like some doves. A few different species. Ringneck laughing, and potentially Namakwa there too. And I think a sparrow in between, or maybe a bush sparrow with a very white eyebrow. Oh yeah, definitely Namakwa doves. They have a little bit of a longer tail. The male was just on the tree with a sort of black face. The females don't have that. No, hello, you are saying hi from Portugal. Oh wow, I think that's the first viewer from Portugal that I've had with me on the show. So a very warm welcome to you. Lovely to hear from you. Joanne, you say happy Sunday. And to you, Joanne, it's wonderful to have you with us. D Sales, you say, how tall is an elephant compared to a giraffe? So a giraffe will actually be taller than an elephant. If we take an elephant bull and a giraffe bull, the giraffe will probably be about a meter taller than an elephant, I would say. It depends, maybe a little bit less than that, but generally speaking. That definitely sounds more like an elephant now, unless these giraffes are really starting to spray themselves. So if we had to put details, if we had to put actual height to it, you're looking at a big bull giraffe. Ah, yes, elephant indeed. But anywhere between 5 to 6 meters, where a male elephant would be about 4 meters tall. So that's pretty, they're both quite tall, but a giraffe is definitely taller than an elephant. This is so beautiful. How amazing to have this camera and to just see this elephant splashing himself with water. He just came for a cool down, it looks like. Fair enough. Eddie, hello. You are asking, why is it that elephants chase other animals away at the waterhole? You know, Eddie, much of the time it's not actually them chasing the other animals away. For example, here, I don't think this elephant chased those giraffe away. I think they just moved away because there was this monstrosity heading towards them. But there are definitely times, and most of the time, it's actually younger bulls that get a little bit cheeky. and they want to throw their weight around and chase the other animals away. We've seen it happen with hippos. We've seen it happen with even a buffalo, although I remember watching that at a waterhole in Matikwe, and this buffalo just looked at this elephant like, are you being serious? You know, I'm not going anywhere. And the elephant almost had to push the buffalo's bum to get it to move, because they are so stubborn. And it was just it was fascinating to see. Oh, we can see a bit of Mount Kilimanjaro coming through the haziness there, unless it's a cloud shaped like a mountain, but that did look like the ice capped top of Mount Kili. There we go. Always special when it does break through the clouds, or should I say the clouds part, to allow us to see the mountain. The mountain's not breaking through anything. But Eddie, to come back to your question, there are cases though, and I think we've seen it here at this waterhole even, where an elephant, even though it's more mature, not necessarily a young teenage cheeky boy, chasing and actually hurting a giraffe because it got too close. So it does happen. That's by far on the rarer side, that they actually injure another animal, and for the most part they're actually very tolerant. We see many times elephant with zebra, eland, giraffe sharing at this particular spot. It is unique because this is such a small waterhole. You know, at much larger waterholes, dams and things like that, where there's a lot of water, you see many animals, you know, coming to drink, and every sort of species has their own little area, I would say. So it's an interesting dynamic between the different species, and to watch that behavior around a waterhole. But especially if there's a lot of water, elephants aren't too worried unless they're a cheeky teenager. Sometimes the little ones even chase off Egyptian geese or blacksmith lapwings, and it's just sort of in their genes. I suppose we see this natural reaction from elephants to other species, especially when they're younger, to want to show them who's boss. It can be very cute. But I think just with an elephant being the size that it is, and let's take more mature elephants as an example, just being their size, they also have a personal space bubble. And, you know, if they feel like, hey, I don't want you so close to me, they're going to react and show that to whatever is around them. Oh, there's a beautiful giraffe, male giraffe, coming to drink now. It looks like lovely dark coat. Well, another one of my favorite spots is Lentor, so let's head over there now. Well, we had some wonderful birding here with cutthroat finches and black-faced waxbills yesterday, and I see the birding is continuing with some laughing doves. Oh, that looked like potentially an African mourning dove, and some Jamison firefinches. Isn't it interesting how it looks like this water is flowing, but it is one waterhole without it's not part of a river system or anything like that, but there's always movement on top of it. I find that fascinating. I think it is pumped, so perhaps there is an inflow and that's causing some movement, but I do find it interesting how the leaves and things that are falling from the trees look like they're flowing. Here we have the unstriped ground squirrel that I think also eats some of these seed pods from the anna tree that shadows over this waterhole. Brett, hi, you're asking how come the doves are blue. So they do have this sort of grey blue tinge to them, and that's of their feathers specifically for that species, the laughing dove. They have this I don't even know how to describe this sort of rusty pink maybe, and then that sort of dove grey, and I suppose that is why that color is called dove grey, because it's got that bluish tinge to it. Oh, there's a white-browed sparrow weaver. Lovely to see that bird around. Jive Bunny, hello, lovely to hear from you. And you say there were 2 gorgeous striped hyenas on Lentor overnight around the same time as a leopard. Oh my word, I would have loved to see that. That must have been so beautiful. That's one species of hyena we don't see in southern Africa, and definitely on the bucket list to see for myself one day. It's amazing how much tends to come through here quite regularly. But also this unstriped ground squirrel really does spend a lot of time around here. If the baboons aren't here, it does tend to come out more. There we go, it's having a drink. There is one of the cutthroat finches that's popping out there with the red under the chin. We've been having some incredible birding sightings here recently. Oh wow, that moved very quickly. Wow, that squirrel is still having a drink. And it looks like its teats are swollen as well, so I think it's a mommy. I don't know where its little ones would be right now. Wouldn't that be adorable? Some baby ground squirrels. Jive Bunny, I'll be sure to have a look at that video of the striped hyenas here. It's so interesting to watch the squirrel drink and then see that mouth moving so much afterwards. I don't know what it's doing with its tongue. Liverpool bird. Thank you so much. You have 3 new birds so far for you today. That's fantastic. So glad we can grow your bird list. Very busy mouth. It's fascinating. I think it's almost its default nature, because even when it's eating something, that mouth is moving a lot. Now it's having a bit of a crawl on its tummy. Oh, Elizabeth, there are so many birds. I was fortunate to have John Kinghorn from BirdLife in the camp at Juma recently when I was on my stint there, and it was great to spend some time with him and of course learn a lot about birds from him, and just chatting about his birding adventures and all of that. And I mean, even for him, he's seen I think over 1,000 birds worldwide, but there's about 11,000 species in the world. So, you know, my sort of list in comparison to that for Southern Africa, you know, quite over half, 536 I think I'm on now. But there are so many. I mean, obviously internationally, that is endless. I'd love to visit South America or Southeast Asia for some of the very beautiful and special birds that one can see there. But within our regions and Africa specifically, I mean, the African peter is a bird that I think is on every birder's list and dream to see. The shoebill as well is another bird that I would just love to be able to see, and both of those are within reaching distance, but it's just about being able to get to those places and the time to be able to do it. So yes, but there are many on within this area anyway that I would love to be able to add. Actually, speaking of birding, leaving in a week's time to go do some birding in northern KwaZulu-Natal, very close to where Tembe Elephant Park is, where we started the show today. There's a few sort of forest birds and Zululand specials that I need to add, so I'll be heading down there to do some birding for about a week, so I'm very excited to do that. Things like green malkoa and African broadbill, southern banded snake eagle, rosy-throated longclaw. Or I'm hoping to get all of those ticks, as well as the green barbet, which is only found in the Ngoya forest. We're doing a special outing there to try and tick that one off. And birding is such an interesting hobby that really, once you get into it, oh wow, it can become so much fun. And it actually, one of the coolest things when I was chatting to John about birding and that, he says one of the greatest things about it is where it takes you. You know, you often go and visit places that otherwise maybe you would have never gone to, but because there's a specific bird there that you need to go and see, you go and you see those places, and there's byproducts of that. At the end of the day, it's not solely the bird, but also nature and these wild places that you get to visit to find the bird. So it's almost the catalyst to be able to go and explore. Well, it looks like most of the birds have moved on, so we will head back to Oldonyo. it looks like an elephant's arriving and thinking about what he wants to do next. He also has an audience of giraffes watching him. Shay, you'd like to know why it's alone. So when it comes to elephant bulls, it's not uncommon to actually see an elephant bull by itself. We do know that there are others in the area. There were some here earlier. So even though it's by itself now, it probably does associate with some of the other bulls in the area. And we call those bachelor herds, but sometimes bulls will just go off on their own and spend time by themselves and then go and associate again with the others at different times. Very much the life of a bull elephant. And here we were talking about sharing a water hole. Here we've got an elephant bull and a giraffe that's come to drink. You can see how they are on opposite sides. If the others come forward, they'll obviously need to be closer to the elephant, but still I think sticking more to the left. They're very aware of their presence and his presence and are just, working out. Is he completely relaxed? Can I trust this Ellie? There we go, here comes the second one. And eventually they might actually all be drinking with him there. But what you'll find is if that elephant, like even that splash, that giraffe was like, oh, what was that? But if he shakes his head or maybe has a very loud exhale, they'll jump very high and possibly move off. Raw, hello. You say, "Hi, Amy. I heard you talking about your training. The courage it must have taken to go out in the bush alone. Brilliant experience, but nerve-wracking." Yeah, I will say that when I told my family about what I had to do, I actually ended up telling them only once I was sort of halfway through, because I knew that if I had said it before, they'd probably come and fetch me and take me home. But as someone who, I didn't grow up in the bush and I wasn't exposed to that sort of thing from a young age, it really was something passion that grew later on in my teenage years. And in terms of bush time, it was pretty much, in terms of spending time on foot until my training, was pretty much zero. So, it was something that when I first heard, when we got the outline of the next phase of our training, I was like, what? I'm not ready to do that by myself. I don't have the skills. But it's amazing how once your training takes place and you start leading walks, and you start, obviously having your rifle competency, and you begin to understand the bush, and it's one of the most remarkable things that takes place. And you start off by walking with, your mentors and your trainers, and oh wow, splash time now. Everyone's moving. Oh, this is fantastic. I'll carry on with my story in a moment. Let's just enjoy this. While this elephant has a splish splash, let's head back over to Lentor. Oh wow! Beautiful. We don't often see zebras coming to drink during the show. And there's a little one. This is just so beautiful. I just want us to enjoy this sighting. I promise I will continue with my training story. Luckily, at this show there's no rush. Joe, I think in this particular area, it is, I haven't seen a predator in the day, whether it's at Aldonyo or Lentor. It probably has happened, but I think especially with the level of heat that they experience here, and just the habits of the animals and that sort of thing, they specifically with hyenas as well being quite strictly nocturnal, they come out at night time. Actually, even leopards as well. Yes, we do see them move in the day, but it's by far the commonality for them to come out more in the sort of nighttime arena. That's what they are adapted for. Even their eyesight, it's where their prey is more vulnerable and they have the upper hand. And unless they are maybe on a kill and very thirsty or something like that, and they want to come out during the day, then they'll, risk it. But also to remain hidden during the daytime means that they don't give their position away, so that prey animals can perhaps during the day get closer and closer to them, and then that sets them up nicely to hunt at night. So there's a few different elements that one has to consider. But I don't know if there's ever been a daytime predator sighting at this particular waterhole. From what I've heard, they've mostly been at night. But I think we've thoroughly appreciated these zebras. So I'm going to finish off my story. When it came to my training, I think one of the greatest achievements for me personally, having the background that I do, and just really coming in a pure novice in many aspects 5 years ago, was being able to go out for a week in the bush completely by myself, given a route to walk, and have my rifle and my radio, and I survived. And it was one of the most incredible privileges to be given time to do that. Once you start working, to carve out time to be able to do that is next to impossible. And it was really, I had Wild Ways about a very fascinating book about animal behavior. I also had the Shaping Kruger book to read, and every day I'd find a lovely tree to sit under and have my lunch and read. It was wonderful. And also then to navigate past animals, elephant herds, rerouting, having to keep cover while letting those animals pass to remain undetected. And just that time, to really become one with the bush. It sounds very cliche, but once you've done something like that, you back yourself and trust yourself to be out in the bush. And obviously then walking or guiding guests on foot is a completely different kettle of fish, as it were. And one has to, have a certain number of hours and all these things, and actually be signed off, which is very important. But in terms of, for myself with my rifle, and spending that week of time every day from sunrise to sunset was fantastic, and something I'm extremely proud of, considering that at first I was terrified before I started my training, and then it was the best time of my life that I've ever had, to be on foot alone in the bush. Stevie you'd like to know, do you take a rifle with you whilst out with guests? So definitely on foot, absolutely. And then depending on the lodge that one works at, you can either be required to have the rifle on the vehicle or not. I was where the company I worked for, we did have to have the rifle every time on the vehicle, even if it was a vehicle-based game drive. And then if our tracker went off on foot and we joined them for a little bit, then I would take the rifle out and walk with them with that. So some places though, because it's a vehicle based drive, you don't need to have the rifle on the vehicle with you, but some places insist that you do. Well, that was just wonderful, wasn't it? Goodness me, what a treat to see some zebras. Let's now send you over back to Old Daniel. Well, here we go. We have 3 elephants now that have arrived, and the giraffe are getting very brave as well. Let's see what happens. Lady Macbeth, hello. You say you've walked without a rifle in a Big 5 reserve, but I wasn't a guest. So yes, if you are, in your own personal capacity, or even tracking, you don't, as long as you're not doing it in a professional capacity, I don't think legally you don't have to have the rifle with you. Hence, the trackers who go out and track animals aren't armed. They do so they are trained to do that. And yes, I think in a personal capacity or private capacity, one can walk without a rifle. But as soon as paying guests are involved, and you are on a walk within a Big 5 reserve, of course, if it's not, then that's a different story. You don't have to be armed. But within a big 5 reserve with guests, one does need to be carrying a rifle. Rob and Gemma, hello to you both. Lovely to have you with us. You'd like to know the lifespan for a zebra in the wild? On average, Rob and Gemma, it's about 20 years. Sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a bit more. Sometimes that lifespan is completely cut short due to predation. Giraffes live for about 25 years or so. It's very much an average. Elephants around 60 to 70 years. Well, we can see that the giraffes now have taken the gap. What a beautiful view. wonder if this elephant is going to go back. Oh, does look like it. How quickly will those giraffes move away? Perhaps he's just actually moving on, moving past. That girl figured it out. Like, looks like he's moving off. I'll come for my drink. Well, these giraffes are loving life since these elephants moved away, having the freedom to come and have a drink. Lots of oxpeckers around too. Maybe we'll see them popping down for something to drink as well. I feel these giraffes are coming to the waterhole like they've been deprived of water for a while. Unless they just keep swapping and there's different ones all the time, which is actually probably the most likely situation. But there's an endless stream of animals here at Old Donyo. It is wonderful to have this spot as part of the show. Well, the giraffes had their moment, and no excuses if they didn't get a drink in at this point. If this elephant does come back and push them off, they did have a chance. Rob and Gemma, for a giraffe, their lifespan in the wild is somewhere between 20 to 25 years on average. Of course, difficult to say exactly because often once they get to a certain point, they might be predated on before they would die of natural causes. But yes, I think with research that's been done, it's just a little bit longer than a zebra. Well, that was wonderful. I wanted us to enjoy that full scene playing out with all those giraffes as well as this elephant coming to drink. We're going to head over to Stony Point now, where there is a penguin. Well, yesterday we had a wonderful time here with some penguins who looked like they came actually for just a fun swim, a little dip in the ocean. It was very cute to see, and there was one sunning itself and puffing out its feathers, drying off, and you can see what this one is doing now is actually getting some preening oil from its preening gland, which is located just above the tail, and it'll take that preening oil in its beak, and then it's going to work its way through its feathers and apply that preening oil, which helps keep it waterproof. So very, very, very important part of what birds with preening glands need to do, which is the majority of them, in order to ensure that waterproofing, especially for aquatic birds. You can imagine how important that is. And what would happen if they didn't have that, whether they, there's a dusty, aquatic or non-aquatic, if they got wet and that water seeped right into their downy feathers and their whole body stayed wet, they could die, from what I understand in terms of the body heat. And you can imagine if you're just cold right down to your core, that's, you're not going to be able to maintain a healthy body temperature. And so keeping the water out of their feathers helps them to stay dry. It also helps them with all the things that birds need, specifically for flying birds. It of course keeps them lighter, because that's part of what gives them the ability to fly. but mainly staying waterproof is vitally important. Oh, I thought it's going to lie on its belly. I think it wants to. Yes. They love to dry off like that and just enjoy the sunshine. Aren't they just the cutest? There's our friendly gull, often walking around here. The washed up kelp, which is the sort of long strands of black substance you see there. Oh, they're the dussies. They attract sandflies, which the gulls love to eat. And these dussies are another animal that love the sun, much like that penguin, except I'm not sure what their excuse is. I mean, the penguin's in really icy water and needs to come out and dry off and warm up. But these dussies, you know, they aren't in icy water. They just really like the sun. VH girl, wow, what a wonderful message. Thank you for sending through that comment. It is amazing to have you joining in, and you say this is so amazing. There is nothing like it. You'll probably never be able to afford to go to Africa, but you can enjoy it here. That just makes my heart smile. I must say, this is why we do the show, and to connect people with nature who otherwise may have never be able to experience the wonders of Africa and even further abroad. So yes, I'm glad you're with us, VH girl. Alright, there are some elephants that have arrived at another waterhole, so let's head over there. Well, not only have they arrived, but they are here for a swim at Elephant Pan. Looks like two young boys that love to have a swim and a little bit of fun together. And this waterhole is just the perfect place to do that. Ah, well, there's the rest of them, all having a lovely time. Family Sunday afternoon outing to the waterhole sounds perfect. Lincoln, I think so. I think that for an elephant to be in water is much like us as humans. You know, you feel quite light. and for them even more so. I think they must be able to take a lot of weight off their feet. They're heavy, so they're not going to float, but at least they have that sort of feeling in terms of being able to lie on their side, and just that slowness of movement and that bit of resistance against them. And I think it must be a wonderful feeling for them to go swimming, which is why they do it. And they don't do it just to cool down, because elephants stay in the water a lot longer than that when they are swimming, and it's purely from an enjoyment point of view. Looks like that one's found a bit of a resting post. For me, it's always so, it's relaxing, it's wonderful, it's entertaining to just sit and watch these elephants when they are in the water like this. Oh, these two are going to have a ball. You can just see they're about the same age, same size, same length of tusks. Probably cousins, maybe, or related somehow, who knows. Perhaps not. But they are enjoying each other's company and doing typical teenage boy things. Some wrestling in the pool. Robin Gemma, you'd like to know what the purpose of elephant tusks are. So there's a few different purposes, Robin Gemma. I think first and foremost, they are something that aids elephants' survival. They're not essential to life. That's also very important to clarify, but they do help in certain ways. First of all, for defense, whether an elephant who has them has an extra tool at their disposal to, fight off predators. And then for elephant bulls specifically, when it comes to competing for dominance, those tusks allow them to potentially injure, even kill another male and win a fight, essentially. Oh, that one's sitting on its bum. Oh, that was very cute. So that's the one side of things for either offense or defense. But there's another role that the tusks play, which is very helpful for the elephant, and that has to do with their food. And one of the things that I've seen them many times do, either digging with their tusks, so uprooting trees and plants to be able to, dig around and get the roots of trees. And then secondly, actually getting the bark off of trees. We see it a lot with things like marulas and knob thorns, where they'll, get their tusk into a weak point and strip off the bark from trees, and then chew out the cambium layer, which is the part of the bark that has the nutrition in it. So that's another use that elephants have for their tusks. But like I say, not essential for survival. There are elephants out there that don't have tusks and have survived their whole life. So just because of their size, they can survive without it and find alternative ways to get the food that they need. And especially in places where there is grass and leaves and other vegetation that they can use their trunk to feed on. They don't necessarily need their tusks, but it is a handy tool that they have adapted and learnt how to use very effectively. Well, while these elephants continue to enjoy their pool party, it looks like maybe an eland walking there in the background. I'm not sure. Rather large antelope. Anyway, we are going to head over to some more it looks like a kudu. Sorry, we're going to head over to some more elephants up at Oldonyo. An elephant as well as a flock of guinea fowl that are here. Oh, and some necking giraffes. That's looking like these boys have got some gusto. They're young, but they are giving it horns. Excuse the pun. And for those of you who may not be familiar with this behavior, we call this necking. It's something that male giraffes do to compete for dominance. These particular giraffes don't look fully mature yet. They're just a little bit skinny, I would say, in comparison to some of the bigger bulls we've seen. But even between them, they are practicing, they are getting stronger, and these fights can be quite serious. So, Brandon, it's a great question. I don't think there's a particular lack of predators. I know this is another camera that some of the nighttime footage is amazing, with lions and hyenas. Caracal has been seen here a few times. I think this particular area, though, there is, of course, giraffe around, as we can see, but there goes through times where we don't see a lot of giraffe. They move, and I think this water source is somewhere that they've been enjoying the last few days. or weeks, probably more so. So I don't have exact numbers for you in terms of predator density. I do know there are predators around. However, the number of predators that would actually hunt a giraffe is fairly limited to only lions. So I know there have been lions seen here. How dense they are in terms of prides in this area, how many would frequent the area. I think the giraffe population is very healthy by what we see, and I wouldn't say that they are particularly here because of a lack of predator, but more of an availability of resource. Well, let's head over back to Lentor for some monkeys this afternoon. Now, we see both vervet monkeys and baboons here at Lentor. More so the baboons in recent times that I've spent here than the monkeys, but the monkeys are also just as fascinating, often sharing very much the same mannerisms as baboons. You can see a mom there on the right with the youngster on her belly, and that's all to do with the location of the mammary glands that mean that the baby can drink milk on the move. They are very cute, aren't they? You can see mom's teats there actually. And that little one is coming for a drink now. Yes, wildlife lady, it is wonderful to see the vervet monkeys back. Oh, she's deciding this is a better spot for her and her baby to drink. Oh, Deb Davis, thank you for your kind words. That is so lovely to hear. And I will miss this show as well, but it's only a week. I'm away for 1 week, and I'm looking forward to my birding adventures, and I'm on the show pretty much as soon as I get back, so I will be sure to be able to share all of that with you when I return once a week, around the 16th of March or so. But luckily, we still have tomorrow and Tuesday to spend the waterholes together. And here we have one of the big males of this particular troop, and one of the distinctive features for these males is, of course, the very prominent, you can see there, blue testicles, and it's something that is you can't ignore it, really. And it links a lot to their sexual maturity, as well as showing their ranking and status within the troop. So the brighter the testicles, essentially, the higher ranking the male, and apparently also therefore makes it easier for the females to identify which males to mate with. So the brighter the coloration, then she's able to choose the right male, and in nature's way it means that the best genes are passed forward. So she wants to mate with a male that is mature and dominant, has the best genes, and that's one way that they're able to show who that male is, and for the females to be able to identify them. In baboons, the females actually, their backside becomes very red and inflated, and that also shows the males which females are in estrus. So it's interesting how within the monkeys and baboons, how they show sexually when they're ready to reproduce. Wildlife Lady, I have loved today's waterhole too. It's flown by, and I think it's because we've just had so much to see as well as talk about, which is always lovely. And that's a huge thank you to all of you watching, for those of you who did send through your comments and questions. It is part of what makes the show so wonderful, and being able to chat to you and discuss certain topics as we go along. Remember that we will, of course, be back tomorrow. I'll be back with you for the show, and it will be the same time that it was today, 12:30 Central African time. But until then, this afternoon and tomorrow morning, we do have our Safari live shows. So Sunset Safari will be at 3:30. There was a time change, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday, till 6:30 in the afternoon. And how wonderful to have the different locations and such variety for our live drives. And very exciting to have kicked off at Sandringham Private Game Reserve, part of the Sabi Sabi collection, as now a permanent member for our drives, which is going to be amazing. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you all again tomorrow. Goodbye for now.